Now comes the fairy tale from the Brothers Grimm, the Brave Little Tailor. Make yourself comfortable. One beautiful morning, a little tailor sat happily on his table by the window and sewed diligently. A farmer's wife came by and called out, "Delicious mush. Yummy mush." The little tailor liked that. He called out, "Here, dear lady. I'm going to buy something." The farmer's wife climbed the stairs and unpacked her mush pots. The little tailor selected a small pot. Then she got a piece of bread, spread it and said, "The mush should give me strength and power. But first I'll finish my work." He put the bread next to him and went on sewing. But the smell of the sweet sauce attracted flies to the bread. The little tailor shooed away the flies, but they kept coming back. Then the little tailor got angry, took a cloth and hid it. When he looked at the cloth, there were 7 dead flies on it. The little tailor was amazed at his own bravery. The whole world should know that. It embroidered a belt with large letters. It said, 7 in one go. The tailor tied his belt and went out to show everyone how brave he was. He didn't find anything to take away, though, except for an old piece of cheese and a bird that was caught in the brush outside. The tailor ran far until he reached a mountaintop on which sat a mighty giant. The little tailor went boldly up to him and said, "Hello. You look at the world. I want to travel it. Would you like to join us?" The giant looked at the tailor with contempt and said to him menacingly, "You rogue." The tailor unbuttoned his jacket and showed the giant his belt. "Here you can read how strong I am." The giant read, 7 in one go. And because he believed that meant people, he got a little respect. He wanted to put the tailor to the test. The giant took a rock and squeezed it so hard that water dripped out. Then he said, "If you are so strong, then do it like me." "If that's all it is," answered the little tailor. He took his cheese, squeezed it so that the juice ran out and asked, "That was better, wasn't it?" Then the giant picked up a stone and threw it so high that you could hardly see it. "Imitate me," the tailor replied. "Well thrown," but the stone fell to the ground again. "I'll throw you one that won't come back." Then he took out the bird and threw it in the air. The bird, glad to be free again, took off, flew away and never came back. "How do you like that?" asked the tailor. "You can throw," agreed the giant. "Now we want to see if you can also carry heavy things." They went to a large felled oak tree. The giant said, "If you are strong enough, help me carry the tree out of the forest." "Gladly," said the little tailor. "You carry the trunk and I carry the branches and twigs. That's the hardest part." The giant took the trunk on his shoulders. But the shider sat down on a branch behind him. The giant couldn't turn around and had to carry the whole tree and the little tailor. Eventually the giant couldn't take it anymore and dropped the tree. The tailor quickly jumped down, grabbed the tree with both arms and pretended to carry it. Shortly afterwards they came to a cherry tree. The giant bent the top of the tree down, gave it to the tailor and told him to eat the cherries. When the giant let go, the tree shot up and the little tailor flew into the air. When he reached the bottom unharmed, the giant asked, "Can't you even hold a thin branch?" But the little tailor answered, "I don't lack the strength. I jumped over the tree because the hunters are shooting around down there. Jump in if you can." So the giant tried to jump over the tree but got stuck in the branches. Then he said, "If you are such a brave fellow, stay with us in the cave." In the cave other giants were sitting by the fire. The giant offered the tailor a bed, but the bed was much too big for the little man, so he preferred to lie down in a corner. At nights the giant stood up and smashed the bed down the middle with an iron rod. He thought he had killed the little tailor and went into the forest with the other giants. When the little tailor suddenly appeared, the giants were terribly frightened and hastily ran away. The little tailor went on, always following his pointed nose. After wandering for a long time, it finally reached the courtyard of a royal palace. Being tired, he lay down on the grass and fell asleep. Soon people came by and read what was written on his belt. They believed the tailor to be a powerful warlord and reported it to their king. Thinking that such a hero would be useful to him, he sent an emissary to him. When the little tailor woke up and the emissary presented him with the king's wish, he said, "That's exactly why I came. I'm ready to enter the king's service." The little tailor was then received at the royal court and given nice accommodation. But the king's soldiers got worried and asked the king to release them. It saddened the king that he should lose his faithful servants. He wanted to get rid of the unknown hero, but feared his strength. After much deliberation, he made the tailor an offer. In the forest of his kingdom lived two evil giants who caused great damage. If he defeated the giants and rid the kingdom of them, he would be rewarded with the king's daughter in marriage and half the kingdom. 100 riders were to come and help him. The tailor was happy and said, "I'll tame the giants, but I don't need the 100 riders. If you hit 7 in one go, you don't need to be afraid of 2. So the tailor set off, and the 100 riders followed him. At the edge of the forest she left her riders and went alone into the forest. After a while the tailor saw the giants sleeping under a tree. They snored so loudly the branches buckled. The little tailor collected stones and climbed onto a branch above the 2 giants. From there he threw 1 stone at a time on the chest of one giant. After a while the giant woke up, nudged the second one and said, "Why are you hitting me?" "You're dreaming," said the other. "I won't hit you." Then they slept on. Then the tailor threw a stone down on the second giant. The second giant said, "What is this? Why are you throwing at me?" "I'm not throwing at you," answered the first giant. The 2 giants bickered, but because they were tired, they stopped and closed their eyes again. But the little tailor continued his game and threw the biggest stone he had with all his might onto the chest of the first giant. "That's too bad," he yelled and pushed the other against the tree with all his might. The other pushed him back and they both got so angry that they tore up entire trees and hit each other until they lay lifeless on the ground. The little tailor went to the riders and told them about his victory. They didn't believe him and went into the forest themselves. Then they saw the dead giants and the uprooted trees. The tailor demanded the promised reward from the king, but he said, "Before you get my daughter and half the kingdom, you still have to perform a heroic deed. A unicorn is running around in the forest, causing great damage. You have to catch that first." The tailor took a rope and an axe and went into the forest. Again he left his companions at the edge of the forest. After a short time he met the unicorn. It ran towards him as if to impale him. The tailor waited until the animal was very close and then quickly jumped behind a tree. But the unicorn ran against the tree and impaled its horns so hard on the trunk that it could no longer free itself. The tailor stepped forward, put the rope around the unicorn's neck and used the axe to knock the horn out of the trunk. Then he led the beast to the king. But the king still did not want to pay the tailor the wages and gave him a third task. He should catch a wild boar that causes great damage in the forest. The hunters should help him. This time, too, the tailor went into the forest without his companions. When the pig sat him it ran towards him with a foaming mouth and sharpened teeth. The tailor ran into a chapel and immediately jumped out of the window. The wild boar had followed him, but the tailor was already running around the outside of the chapel and slammed the door, trapping the animal. The hunters came and marveled at the captured animal. Again the brave little tailor went to the king, who now had to give him his daughter and half the kingdom. The wedding was splendid, even if the king was not happy, and the tailor became a king himself. One day the young queen overheard her husband talking about sewing in his sleep. Then she realized that he was a tailor and told her father. The old king comforted her and said, "Leave your sleeping chamber open tonight. Once he falls asleep, my servants will tie him up and carry him to a ship that will take him far away." But one of the king's servants, who liked the tailor, overheard everything and told him what the king was up to. In the evening the tailor and the king's daughter went to sleep as usual. When the young queen thought her husband had fallen asleep, she opened the door to the bedroom chamber. But the little tailor only pretended to be asleep and cried, "Boy, make my doublet and mend my trousers, or I'll beat your yardstick over your ears. I've struck 7 with one blow, killed 2 giants, caught a unicorn and a boar, and now fear those who stand outside the chamber." When the servants heard this, they got scared and left him alone. But the tailor remained a king to the end of his life. Thanks for listening. A thumbs up and a subscription would be appreciated. Many exciting stories and fairy tales will follow.